Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm the Gnarly Gnome. This is the Weekly Pint. It is not a show. And I say that because I'm trying to figure something out as the intro music is going. I don't know why I do this to myself every single time. I'm always trying to tweak something and change something. And it's never a good idea. I think what I can do, if I do, hang on. You guys just hang out and talk amongst yourselves. See, because it's not a show, the advantage is when we decide to just do random things, nobody can get mad about that, right? Because it's not real. Everybody that listens to this as a podcast, because there are way more people than you would think that listen to this as a podcast feed, and so they get like this really strange audio only show where in times like this you can't see that I'm actually doing something. You can't see that I'm looking off screen and trying to tweak something. They just are like listening to me mindlessly talk to myself. It's very, very odd. I think if I change this, what I'm trying to do is prepare for what I'm drinking tonight. Oh, now the phone is listening to me, and let's just not do that. Okay. We're gonna call it that. And if I hit that, so I had a couple things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and they are. Oh, I forgot to grab some schnapps. Oh no, that's okay. We'll make do. We have something sitting over here I can substitute for. My goodness, one of these days, I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and I promise that I will get to them as soon as I change this. This does remind me now that we need to prepare for this in the future. All right. I think that's all set. I think we're good. So it's a happy hour. It's an excuse for us to hang out and drink together. So as you get on, please tell me what it is you are drinking. This episode is not technically officially sponsored by Dick's Potato Chips. However, it was supposed to be. And I'm still waiting on a sign that goes right there that says Dick's Potato Chips. Waiting on that sign is the only thing that I'm waiting on, and it was supposed to be delivered on February 2nd. It is now February 10th, and it's not here. Thank you to the United States Postal Service. However, we'll pretend like the show is sponsored because I love Dick's Potato Chips that much. So with that being said, this show is brought to you by Dick's Potato Chips. They are the best Dick's in the universe, the absolute best. If you have not tried these chips, let this be kind of your call to action to go do that. And we will definitely talk about them a lot more in the coming episodes because it will be sponsored by them. But in the meantime, get used to seeing me decked out in my Dick's shirt. I'll probably be crunching on some Dick's at some point. We do have in the studio all of the Dicks you can imagine. I've got Hot Dicks, which are probably my favorite, followed close second for me in my eating habits. I like the salty Dicks a lot, but then there are also over here the sweet and sassy, the barbecue Dicks. So whatever mood strikes me as we are rolling through these episodes, we're gonna roll into. Some of them might actually be kind of good with what we're talking about tonight. Let's kick things off with something to drink, and it's not the main thing I'm going to drink. It's my schnapps substitute. Luckily, I do keep glassware here in the studio now, after screwing this up one too many times. And I always keep a bottle of Utopias hanging out in the corner just for emergencies. I hope there's some in this one. This might actually be an empty bottle. We will find out. Utopias is about as schnapsy as a... Is that a word, schnapsy? It is now. It's about as schnapps-like as a beer can get. And that is... Oh, Lord. That's not going to work. Oh my goodness, you guys. I'm trying to change the settings on the camera to make it bright enough. Oh, I can smell the Utopias. It's really hard when you can't see the buttons. Hang on, I'm going to get up. That's a little bit better. I swear, one of these days I will figure out how to do a live podcast. Jeez. All right. Let's see if there's actually any in here. This is 2019, which, if I remember right, was Mapley, maybe? Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a little bit. There's a little dribble left. Yeah, this is definitely mapley. I have to mention, I did not pay for this bottle. This was a gift from Sam Adams. So thank you to Sam Adams. I think I have to say that every time I drink it on any kind of anything illegally. All right. If you've never had Utopias, this is the world's strongest traditionally brewed beer. There are a lot of beers that are like freeze distilled and things like that to make them stronger, but this is all done in traditional methods. It's a beer, but it does not taste like a beer. It doesn't smell like a beer. It's not carbonated. It is so high proof, and I say proof because it's kind of like a brandy more than it is a beer. So high proof that you don't have to worry about finishing the bottle when you open it. You can just close it back up and throw it on a shelf and drink it for years to come, as you can see by a 2019 bottle. Okay. Yeah, I get a lot of kind of maple. It's really fun when you try the different years side by side too, because they take on very different characters depending on what kind of barrels they use, what kind of things they do to them, because they do tend to do kind of fun things. Every batch is very different than the one before it. All right, Prost. This is going to have to do for our schnapps of the night. We need a good name for that. Our Monday night schnapps kickoff, or schnapsification. I don't know. We'll come up with something clever. Somebody put that into Chat GPT or something. Prost. Oh, God, that's so good. It's smooth. It's definitely warm, like a boozy warm. But, man, I used to think, so before I first tried this, this was one of those kind of, I don't know, bucket list beers that you just really, really want to, one-stop shop, that you really want to try someday. And then before I tried it, I had this like impression in my head that it was just going to be kind of gimmicky, but not really like a good beer, not something that you would want to actually sit and drink. And it caught me off guard the first time I did try it because it was so good. It's not. It is gimmicky, but it's not done just for the gimmick of being a strong beer, which there are those out there, and I've definitely tried a few of them. They exist to exist. This exists to be a great beer and to be something that the brewery can be proud of. And it's great. It's expensive. I think these bottles retail for around $200 a piece, somewhere around there. But the bottle's cool. It's a neat collectible. It's a fun little thing to put on your shelf, and when you have people over or somebody that hasn't ever tried it before, it is really fun to try with people. But it's also kind of fun just to sit by yourself on a Monday night and sip on. This is either going to kick off a night of some really fun things to try, or this will be the best thing that I'm going to have tonight, and it's all downhill from here. Not 100% sure which way it's going to go, but it really could go either way. Also tonight, I want to talk about the Super Bowl, not in the traditional sense of can you believe it or how do you feel about the game or any of that stuff. I want to talk about commercials, specifically beer commercials, and we'll get to that after we drink a couple beers here. Man, this it's just like it just keeps going. Like I want a candle that sits here in the studio that just always smells like this. Some incense. Do they sell that? Does Sam Adams sell Utopias incense? Because if they do, I'm going to need some here in the studio. Maybe I should just every morning wear some of this as cologne. Just put a little on here so that I get to smell it all day. Yeah, it's not like over the top maple syrup, but there's definitely maple going on. And I'm trying to remember exactly what. I guess we have the internet at our fingertips. We could look this up and see some details about this beer. This was 2019. All right, let's see. Am I over 21? Yes, I am. Of course, it loads just the previous year, even though the Google preview was more. Wonder if I have any notes about it. I should somewhere. Julia says, I still want a candle that smells like MASH Day at Buffalo Trace. The way that place smelled when Josh and I visited was so amazing. I think every day is MASH Day at Buffalo Trace. They make so much whiskey down there. But yes, I agree. That smell is amazing. I have some fun Buffalo Trace content coming soon, in theory. Let's see what AI can tell us. I've been looking for like a really good AI solution that'll take all of my notes and then basically run a language model just pulling information from those notes. I've been looking for. There's a couple that are really close. What does Google, the Notebook LM or whatever it is? That works really, really good, but it's got a limited amount of notes you can put in there. But something like that. I'm really looking for that. It's really hard to talk and type at the same time. I'm pretty sure that this was like cognac barrels, Madeira barrels, something like that. I'm never prepared enough for this show. I have like this idea of where I'm going to go, and then it goes somewhere else, and then I get all off track about it. This is really exciting, isn't it, for anybody that's tuning in? All right. Okay. Oh yeah, this actually worked pretty good. It gave me some good details. Okay. 2019. Alcohol by volume is 28%, making it one of the strongest naturally fermented beers. We talked about that. We know that. Aging process is a blend of different beers, some aged up to 26 years in a variety of barrels, including bourbon, cognac, and Madeira. I told you cognac and Madeira barrels. See, look, I know these things. They're in my head somewhere. Rich and complex with notes of caramel, dark fruit, vanilla, oak, and hint of maple. I got that one too. Look at that. Released every 2 years in a collectible copper, yada da da. And then the legality. We always hear all those articles every time it's released about how it's illegal in so many states. That doesn't really tell us that much. But it is the cognac and Madeira barrels was kind of what made this one unique. But they do have every year or every 2 years when they do release Utopias, they pull bits from all kinds of different barrels, and it goes back all the way back to like the Triple Bock days and the Millennium. Just like there's still have barrels of this stuff, and they just take just a little bit out of it and blend it all together and create a beer that does have pieces that are old all the way back to the late 90s, I believe, at this point. It's a fun little treat. This is as fun as some unique schnapps. I promise I'll get some new schnapps here soon. All right. All right then. Let's dive into the beer that I'm really dying to try. This is from New Ales up in Middletown, and I realized as I was setting up for the show, I do not have a New Ales glass. We're gonna need to remedy that. We need to get up there. Because now nothing matches. This is brought to you by Braxton. It's not brought to you by Braxton. Braxton knows nothing about this. And I don't know how they would feel about this beer. This is thanks to Julia and Josh. Julia from Truth Beer Pod Sequences. They were up in Middletown this weekend and managed to snag me some of this. Don't worry, it's safe. It's sealed up nicely, New Ales. All right. We've got a lot to drink, too. For all of you youngins, this is what we call a growler. This was before the age of the crowler. This was how we got our beer to go in these big, giant jugs. It's 64 ounces. It actually looks bigger than it really is. It's 4 pints of beer. So if the beer is good, hopefully this doesn't foam up on me because if this beer is good, 4 pints is nothing. All right, let me try to not spill this on anything. The good thing about growlers versus crowlers is they're usually easier to pour. The first pint out of a crowler is always kind of miserable to try to not make a mess with. This beer, let's get this big old thing out of the way. This beer is a mustard lager. Now, I do not know a lot else about what they did to this beer. I'm assuming, and this is just going to be my assumptions because I did not pull any notes about this. I'm assuming this is just like a Helles lager, probably some mustard seeds, and I'm not sure what else. If you remember back to Swine City, when they did their 6-pack of mixed hot dog themed beers, one of them was a mustard beer that I was a little bit disappointed in because there was not a lot of mustard going on. I believe he was actually I think he was on this episode, kind of in the chat. Wes from New Ales was talking about kind of his idea to do a mustard beer that was a lot more mustard. Julia says, Wes just put a shit ton of French's mustard in it. All right. Sounds delicious. Josh says, I liked it a lot. Got a very crackery finish. That makes sense if it was kind of a Helles lager. I guess I can pull the Dick's sponsorship off of there. We can, we're not there yet. Okay. Let's dive into this. Before I do that, like I said, Julia and Josh provided this to me, so they knew what I was going to be drinking on this episode. And Julia did send a text before we went live, which was what I was trying to figure out if I was going to be able to get it to display on here without making it too much of a pain, of what she is drinking. And it was a little strange. Let me see if I can find it now. Let's do this so that I don't. That's not it. It's this one. All right. Was this what you were drinking earlier, I'm guessing, or is this what you're drinking now? This is, I believe, Third Eye Getting Twisted with mustard in the glass. Kind of makes sense to me. It looks terrible, and I don't know that beer was ever intended to be drank like that. But it is kind of to theme, I guess. She's still drinking it. All right. I'm a little nervous about this, and I don't know. It's kind of like I get this feeling every single time I order Urban Artifacts pickle. In my head, it sounds disgusting, and this is kind of the same thing. This sounds gross in my head. All right. Bottoms up. I definitely smell mustard. It's not like it's not what you expect though. It really is just like drinking a beer and your buddy next to you is eating like a big old brat with a ton of mustard on it, and so you're getting all of that smell of mustard. Or like you just finished eating one and you didn't go wash your hands, you just took a napkin and wiped them off, so there's still like mustard seeped into your skin, so that when you hold your hand up, you're still smelling it on you. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Like there's definitely some mustard happening, but it's not like you can't figure out where it's coming from. Except I know where it's coming from. Bottoms up. Okay. A lot of sweetness. Like Josh mentioned, good crackery finish. Not super carbonated, which could be just because it's in a growler. There's mustard going on, but again, if it is just like there's an aftertaste in my mouth of mustard, and I'm drinking a beer. Yeah, I can get behind that. You could like dip a hot dog in this and be just happy with it. Don't do that. That's gross. What is the make a straw out of a hot dog? Do you ever see that? That was a guy at like a baseball game or something doing that. I don't remember. It's gross. You know what else is really good with mustard? Dick's potato chips are good with mustard. If you've never tried a little bit of mustard on your hot Dick's, you should try it. It's actually kind of great. Just as a reminder, we love Dick's on this show. Let's dive into. Julia says boil a hot dog in it. Maybe that might work. I do think that this would just be a really good beer in general with sausage. I sit down here a lot, and the only food that I make down in the basement, like that is cooked, is like sausage and hot dogs. So a lot of times if I'm sitting down here and I'm hungry, if I'm eating lunch or dinner or something down here, I'll throw some sausage on and drink a beer. And I'm always trying different types of mustard with it. Or I'll make a plate of just a bunch of sausage and pickles. I have a lot of pickles in the fridge. I love pickles. And this beer would be good with any one of those: mustard, pickles, hot dogs. Like it all just goes together. I need some pretzels. And Julia says somehow the Dick's sponsorship is less uncomfortable than the Manscaped one. Me too. Because Dick's are just potato chips. Come on. They are delicious potato chips too. All right, let's dive into this topic here because the Super Bowl, which we don't need to talk about the actual game. I get it. I don't think anybody really cared about this game other than the fact that just nobody wanted the Chiefs to win. So it felt good. It was fun to watch. But we were all kind of looking forward to the commercials more than we were the actual game. I feel like it's been progressing to this over the last few years that I'm just kind of disappointed with everything. It's probably me just being curmudgeon-y and old, but like I feel like the halftime shows aren't as good as they were. I feel like the commercials aren't as good as they were. I feel like the game itself half the time just isn't as fun as I remember it being before. I don't know. I again, it's probably just me being curmudgeon-y, but I was thinking about it with the commercials. I was looking forward to some beer commercials. I don't even care if it's macro beer. I get it. They're big. They're multinational. They are evil. But historically speaking, they've made some great commercials. and I look forward to them because a lot of times they were always funny. They're not anymore. They're not even like there was that period of time where Anheuser-Busch was doing all these nostalgic, the Clydesdales and the puppies and all that stuff, and like even that struck some kind of nostalgic side of me that was like, oh, this is I can get behind this, and none of that exists anymore. None of it's like it's not the same, and it got me to then fall down a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I started looking at old Super Bowl commercials, and my thoughts were confirmed that commercials used to be better than they are today. So I think my kids are screaming. I don't know what's going on. Julia says they have the $8 million for 30-second spot during Super Bowl, where non-macro beers don't have that kind of cash. Just toss it marketing. No, and like I had hoped that like at some point you were going to get a big kind of group of craft breweries or something to get together and do some kind of commercial. And that never really happened. I get it. It's still a ton of money. And obviously craft beer does not have that kind of money just laying around. I don't care if it's craft or not craft. I just want to see beer commercials because they were always funny. So I went through and I pulled some of my favorite historical commercials that I could come up with off the top of my head. Marco says, seal as the seal is creepy. Yeah. All right. Here we go. This is not a final list of the best Super Bowl commercials, nor is it necessarily in any kind of order. It's just some good ones that popped up for me that I thought we could talk about and reminisce with. Let's see if all of this works. This was haphazardly put together today. All right, let's put on this first one here, and then we'll talk about it. I definitely remember this one. All right, Julia says that she remembers rolling her eyes when this came out. Still stands eye roll worthy. Like this is not one of my favorite commercials, except for the fact that I can still remember that next day, just sitting and talking about it with people, or maybe that next week. All week, but probably even longer than that. Anytime you would sit down at a bar and you'd have a beer, like I have this very distinct memory of, and what year did this come out? I don't have it in front of me. I have this very distinct memory of sitting. I feel like it was at Rivertown, the old Rivertown, sitting at the bar and talking to people about this commercial and like what it meant and why they were doing it. And I still like I look at this and I'm like, man, like it's such a strange marketing tactic, but it's kind of smart. It's incredibly ironic that not very long after this, Budweiser bought Elysian, who I'm pretty sure at one point made a pumpkin peach ale. The whole thing is like that this beer is not for like paying attention to. Which is such a strange, I get it. And it's still in my head, it's probably not the worst marketing tactic. It's just so odd as a group of people like us that spend so much time paying attention to our beer and fussing over our beer. Man, it was a big one for me though. It was definitely kind of a big shot from the big guys punching down at the little guys, which I think is always fun as a little guy. Let's move on. Unless anybody else has any thoughts about that one. Here, I'll take a big drink. If anybody has any thoughts, throw them in the chat. That beer is crazy. The whole room now smells like maple syrup and mustard. I'm okay with that. All right. Number 2. I don't even remember which these are. They're not labeled on here. They're just numbers. Oh, yeah. Some oldie. Bud Dry.
Doobie-doo.
Drink Bud Ice, but beware the penguins.
This was a whole series of commercials from Bud Dry. I don't know if anybody else remembers these. The Penguins. It was a whole bunch of... Okay, Julia says, I just know the QA team at AB InBev looks like the crafty boys are making fun of us. We're trying to make sure the beer smells it. Yep. It was this whole series of commercials where it ended with these penguins trying to get a hold of people's Bud Dry, because penguins like cold. The whole thing was just ridiculous. But yeah, they did this doobie-doo thing. There was one where it was these two guys and they're in a cabin. And I don't think this was a Super Bowl commercial, but it came out about the same time. And they're in this cabin, and the whole cabin's shaking, and you can hear something pounding all over the outside. And he's like, I'm going to do it. And the other guy's like, no, don't do it. He's like, I'm doing it. And he runs over to the fridge, and he opens it up, and there's a Bud Dry sitting in there. So he reaches in, and he grabs it, and the other guy's trying to stop him. And he just opens up the door, and he throws it outside and slams the door shut. And all the shaking stops. And then they both kind of open the door, and they peek out. And it's just the penguin, and he's standing on the porch with this Bud Dry in his hands. The whole thing is just so dumb. But it's like, it's funny. It creates these series that these commercials follow along that are good. I love it. Julia says, maybe that's why I'm so terrified of feathers McGraw from the Wallace and Gromit series. Penguin phobia started with these commercials. Maybe. All right. Number 3. Oh, here's some of that nostalgia. Oh, this one makes me tear up. I do love this. Little puppy.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. And when I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you.
He finds his way home, and then there's the big bad wolf. And here comes his buddies. There was definitely a whole series here too of the Clydesdales and the puppy and their friendship and kind of all kinds of, like, it started from when they found the pup, when they adopted him, and up till he was older, and the Clydesdale growing up. Like, there was just a ton of like these horses and puppies together, and like it was again just it's perfect to me. The marketing at the time was nice. You had, the Bud Light side, which there is Bud Light commercials in here. I did not pull them all. I did not pull the WhatsApp one, even though that was very memorable. The Bud Light side, which was funny and young and ridiculous, and then you had this nostalgic, classic side of Budweiser, and they lived in their little like spots and their personalities, and it felt like the company knew what those brands were. And just kind of stuck with it. Even if that wasn't necessarily the only people that were drinking it, there were definitely older people that had nostalgia that were still drinking Bud Light. But the brand itself was a younger brand, and I liked that. And we've lost every bit of that with macro beer. That was number 3. Is that right? Are we on number 4? I don't remember. Let me see. Number 3. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to number 4.
Bud.
All right, we know this one.
Bud. Wines. Bud. Bud. Wines. Bud. Bud. Wines. Bud. Wines. Bud. Bud. Wines. Bud. Wines. Bud. Wines. Bud. Wines.
I wonder how many kids these days have just never seen that, have no piece in their like historical commercial watching mind of that commercial. That definitely was kind of really early on for me of connecting the marketing with a brand itself, and I started to actually connect in my head these commercials with the commercials that they were actually advertising. The first time it really worked for me, I guess. Not that I went out the next day and was drinking Budweiser. And in my head, like, I recognize that was Budweiser, but it feels like a Bud Light commercial, even though it's definitely Budweiser. Let's see. Moving on, number 5.
Cozy, huh?
Oh, here's a great one.
Whoa, bedroom? No way. Security? How's the transportation? Classic fixtures. Ooh, what do we have here?
Bud Light.
Go ahead. It's got your name on it. I'll get my own. Nice. Huh?
I'll take it.
For the great taste that won't fill you up and never let you down, make it a Bud Light.
That was close. I was down on my last one.
The magic fridge. The guy, every time they close the door, a new one appears. I'd love it. Julius says some of these could be replayed every year and they wouldn't ever go out of style. Like the Corona one they do every year, that's the guy turning on the Christmas lights on the palm tree. I agree 100%. I think that, or even, same thing, but you just add some little twist on the end of it. Some of these really older ones, like you could just refilm it and make it more modern and take the same concept, and I think people would latch onto it just as good. I got one more that kind of takes the magic fridge again and kind of modernizes it a little bit. That was, I think, from maybe the late 90s, whereas this was kind of, I don't remember. It wasn't that long ago. Another magic fridge commercial.
Hey, the guys are coming over to watch the game. Aren't you worried about them drinking all the Bud Light?
Not to worry. Look what I had installed.
A secret revolving wall. Dude, you're a genius.
Guys, hurry up! The magic fridge is back!
Refreshingly smooth Bud Light. Always worth it.
Magic fridge. Magic fridge.
I love that. And there was one that they did where the guy, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. The whole room was like made out of rubber, and he would pull a beer out and then he would like pass it to his friend and just like throw it down. It would bounce and go to like, there was just such good ones. I miss that about beer commercials, and I recognize that Big Beer is the only one that would be able to really do that. Julia says, "I hope you have a Real Men of Genius commercial in the stack." I don't. That was again a whole great series though. Derek says the only magic fridge that I've experienced was in the Browns. We're on the historical. Yeah, well, yeah. Bud gave out free Bud when they finally won. It was like the fridges all around town, and they had some kind of electronic lock on them. And when the Browns just won a game? Or I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I guess when the Browns won a game, all of the fridges around town would just simultaneously all unlock at the same time in these bars, and people could just go and empty of them of all the Bud Light. Really, really great marketing tactic. And again, like, I recognize it's Big Beer, and Big Beer is the enemy, and they're evil and whatever. They've got the power to do these really really clever, fun things, and I feel like they don't anymore, and that kind of makes me sad. Like, that was the only like redeeming thing about Big Beer was fun stuff like that. I would love to see craft beer find some kind of way to do. I mean, and they do. People, there are lots of craft breweries that try to be creative and fun and to create things that kind of connect, I guess, with their customers in different ways, but it's nothing to the level of some of these things that Big Beer has done. Like when Mad Tree was getting ready to open Parks and Rec, that every day they would hide a gift card and a T-shirt somewhere in the park, and then somebody have to find, like, that's fun and it's creative, but it's not a magic fridge that unlocks when the Browns win. That's a great idea. And there's no reason that you couldn't do, not necessarily a commercial during the Super Bowl, obviously, but there is no reason that any brewery anywhere, we'll say here in Cincinnati, any brewery can't take an extra, a couple hours out of a week and spend a few weeks trying to put together some kind of creative, funny video and put it up there. And again, they're trying, but it's nothing to the level of some of this other stuff that we've seen. Anyways, that's kind of my takeaway from the Super Bowl, is that commercials are not what they used to be. The game is not what it used to be. Entertainment is not what it used to be. And it's kind of, it's not like it's not depressing, but it's definitely, things have changed. And I don't know if that was like the peak of, we'll just use the commercials as an example, the peak of beer marketing, and it's just downhill from there, or if it ebbs and flows, and we will at some point see things kind of become that again. It's I don't know. It's a little depressing. Marco says they were American owned for many of those years. That's true. They were still a massive, massive company, though. It was, they were definitely the biggest American company. But actually, that's probably not even true. They were one of the biggest American companies, but they were technically American owned. And they still, Budweiser as a product is still majority American product. I assume they probably have a brewery in Canada at this point. I don't know if they have any anywhere else. There might be one in Canada, though. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to Google it. I was getting ready to, and that's just too much. I'm going to drink more mustard beer because why not? If you get a chance to get up to Middletown and go to New Ales while this is still on, you probably should. New Ales is one of those fun breweries that kind of catches you off guard. You don't expect it to be what it is, and you don't expect some of the products that they make to be what they are, in a good way. That's surprisingly refreshing. All right, we will we'll wrap this up. I have it's been a busy couple weeks. If you did not catch it already, Marco says there are several Bud facilities around the globe, like actual Budweiser breweries or just Bud-owned breweries, because I think those are two very different things. If you didn't catch, there's a new Cincy Brewcast this week. Finally, after a unintended hiatus for way longer than I hoped it would be. But we're back at it. We were at Higher Gravity this week, talking about kind of how they have continued to evolve. New episode next week that I record tomorrow. We'll keep that a secret for now, but it is a new brewery. And there are several other episodes in the works with some other new breweries and kind of new breweries and familiar faces that I know you guys all love to hear. So more stuff coming. Working on some Drinking with the Gnome episodes, some content about wine, something I've been trying to get this show figured out for a very long time and have not really had a lot of people that have been interested in helping me do it. I've reached out to so many people that have either just ignored me or said, oh, yeah, that sounds great, and then never kind of followed up with it. There's just a lot of fun stuff coming. In addition to that, YouTube. I am working my butt off to try to figure out some logistical ways to make more YouTube content for you guys and for me, because I really enjoy doing that stuff. And you'll see a lot of the tasting videos, kind of like the one I did with the Malort beer. You'll see a lot of those coming, but I'm trying to get more kind of some more fun stuff for me to record, some more storytelling stuff. You can expect some other stuff about the Bruckman project coming soon. I have a couple more videos in progress for that, and then a big video that is coming up that you guys will get to see this summer. So stay tuned for that. If you like any of this stuff, or if you hate it, or if you're just curious about it, you can always support it by going to thegnarlygnome.com/support. And there is tons of stuff on the Patreon side that you'll get to see, including exclusive content, exclusive videos. You'll get podcasts before they drop to the normies out there. No, you get it first. And I'm going to try to be really good about trying to get those done as quick as possible. And if there is ever any editing, as Julia pointed out to me today, if there's ever any editing that happens on the final podcast, if you are a Nomie, the version you get does not have any of that editing, so you get all of the kind of the behind-the-scenes stuff. With that being said, full disclosure, there's not really usually any editing. We very rarely take a break in the middle of the show or cut things out, so that's going to be a rare thing that you get some editing. But if there ever is, you'll get it full and uncut as a Nomie. Probably to when, I don't know how this will work exactly. When I record Drinking with the Gnome episodes, there is a lot more editing that goes into those. Depending on how that all kind of looks and works, you'll get the unedited version of that too as a Nomie, if you really want it. A lot of them, again, depending on what they look like. I have this vision in my head, which before we wrap up, I could talk about that a little bit if you guys actually care. The vision for Drinking with the Gnome for the last kind of, I don't know, couple years was that the show is kind of a two-part thing. An episode starts out with me here in studio kind of talking about something, be it a place or a drink or something. And after we kind of finish that boring, nerdy, historical thing, we go drink it. And we go somewhere, or we interview somebody, or make it here behind the bar if it's a cocktail, or go somewhere that makes a really great version of that cocktail. Something like that. It's kind of the vision of what the show in my head is supposed to sound like. It never actually does, though. Julia says Nomies need your blooper reels. Yes, they're. It would be fun to take even just like the tasting videos and get some of the bloopers from those, because those are very rarely uncut. Normally, especially if there's lots of like actual information, half the time I have to stop halfway through and look back at my notes to remember what the hell I'm talking about to make sure I don't say anything that's wrong. So usually there's some fun editing, especially if my kids are in the room too. There's lots of fun things that happens then. They just start jabbering in the middle of a video, which clearly people like. I think on YouTube, as far as shorts go, that's probably the most popular video that I did was the one where my oldest was sitting down at the bar with me while we were poking some beers. So Maybe you're onto something. Maybe I need to do more of that. Again, kind of just as a reminder to you guys, huge thank you to Dick's Potato Chips. This episode is not technically sponsored. However, I feel like I'm just sponsored by Dick's in my life because I love Dick's so much. And if you don't love Dick's, you will after you get them in your mouth for the very first time. If you want to know more information, stick around because I'll be talking about them, or just go to the website. Go to dickspotatochips.com. I don't think you should go to any other version of that. I think it's dickspotatochips.com, right? Let me double check that before I tell you that. You can order them. Yeah, dickspotatochips.com. You can go on the website where it will remind you to. You can't even see it on there. To eat a bag of Dick's, and you can get on there and you can order them right from the website. You can click shop now, and you can get several different sizes of Dick's, not the actual bags, just packaging. You can get large Dick's, you can get medium Dick's, you can get the biggest Dickus. That is a giant box of Dick's. It is 24 different bags of Dick's. That's a lot of Dick's. That's a full stocking, and you can do combos of different kinds or all of one. That's great. So I could get on there. Yeah, I could order just my two favorite. I could get a giant biggest Dickus crate of salty and hot Dick's. I usually get mine at Jungle Gyms. They're around town. Like, they're all over the place if you are trying to find a place to get your Dick's. Anytime I'm stopping at Jungle Gyms, I am restocking my Dick supply. Anytime you come to my bar down here, you are guaranteed to have some Dick's if you need some chips. Or there is some kind of tubular meat. There's some kind of sausage, or there's always, not always, usually a big thing of Slim Jims sitting on the bar. I love Slim Jims. That's pretty much anything. That's pretty much all the food that we keep down here. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Or if you are subscribed to Cincy Brewcast, we'll see you whenever you listen to this week's episode, or next week's episode, whenever you get to those, or maybe a tasting video sometime in between now and then. I have some non-alcoholic stuff that I want to do a video about. I have some alcoholic stuff. Lots of fun stuff coming. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll see you next week. Cheers, everybody. Josh, Julia, thank you for the mustard beer. Prost. Has good mustard. We have great mustard beer in town now, great pretzel beer, a great pickle beer. What else do we need? Sausage beer. We could do the sausage spiced Oktoberfest that Paradise makes. I don't even know if we could get Klosterman to bring back that rye bread wheat. Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Cincinnati chili beer and Geta beer. Oh, man. There's a lot of beers that we need to cuvee.